Hi guys, Jeff at Slavens Racing. This video is about our Slavens Mule Recluse Clutch Tuning Kit. And the whole purpose of this kit is to change the engagement point and disengagement point of the clutch. So I came up with this because I've got a 17500 KTM, and the clutch setup from Recluse for that bike was horrible. Even with the lowest engagement springs, the thing freewheeled anytime I pointed it downhill. And if you're in a technical section going on a steep downhill and you're trying to negotiate rocks and roots and little drop-offs and things like that, and then the bike freewheels on you and starts speeding up, it's very unnerving, and it can even lead to a crash. So I wanted to fix that right away. And so I came up with this kit. So it's just lighter springs, and the lighter springs make it engage quicker. So that means the clutch will expand. So, these clutches come apart like this and expand because of the wedges inside here. And speaking of the wedges, you can probably see that these are, maybe you can see it in the video, they're kind of a bronzy color, yep. And those are the ones that you want, because that's the heavy wedge. Most of the new clutches come with it. I can't say that all of them do, but I think all of them do, from about 16 on. But you should check yours. If yours are like a silvery color, then that's the lighter wedge. That's probably the medium. So anyhow, make sure you have the heavy duty wedges. But the engagement is controlled by these springs. And so with my kit, for my bike, I use all 6 of these. So these springs are right here in these, there's 3 screws on each side, and you just push down on these and turn them a half a turn. And while we're speaking of that, you cannot have it laying on a flat countertop like this and push down on it, because the screw just won't go down. You got to lift it up so that you can push the screw all the way down. Horizontal like that means it's locked in, and if it's vertical like that, that means it's out. Sorry. So you just take out this spring. This one's got gold springs in it, and then you put in 3 silvers. So I run 6 silvers. I run silvers on both sides on my 500. And this kit is primarily for 4-stroke models. Some 2-stroke models need even lighter springs, and those models usually have them in the kit, and those are called the steel spring. So if your kit didn't come with that, then you might want to grab that even for your 2-stroke. But like I said, I use the 6 silvers on my bike, 3 on each side. But there's a little downside to that is, for some people, it doesn't bother me in the least, and I set all my bikes up this way, and that is when it's in first gear and you're sitting there at a standstill in gear, it has a little bit of a pulse, and by that I mean it feels like it's trying to pull forward. It just has a little bit of a pulse to it. If you don't like that feeling, well, then you can run 3 of these silver ones, and then 3 of the lightest, of the lowest engagement springs that came with your clutch. So you can just look in your manual. Each model is different on what they recommend for springs. So you just have to look in the manual that came with the bike, or with the clutch, excuse me. And in the very back of that manual, it's usually about the last page or maybe 2 pages from the end, there's a chart in there that says low, medium, and high engagement. You want the low engagement. That means it starts engaging at a low RPM and stays engaged down to a low RPM. That's kind of confusing how they have that in there, but basically the low engagement springs are the lightest springs that came with that clutch. So if you don't want that little pulse, you can use 3 of our springs and 3 of those lowest engagement springs. So 3 on this side of the silver, and then 3 of the low engagement springs on the other side. And then that will get rid of that pulse. It will also allow it to disengage slightly sooner going down the hill. Not a lot, but a little. As far as installation, this spring, this is the 3.0, and that's what this kit is for, is the 3.0. The EXP 3.0, and Recluse has videos on clutch installation and your manual that came with your clutch explains all that. So I'm not making a video on how to take this in and out. I removed this from my bike, changed the springs, put it back in under 5 minutes. It's very easy to do. Lay the bike down on its left side so that you don't have to drain the oil. Unless your oil is dirty, you can just leave it upright, but actually it's easier to work on the clutch when the bike's on its side because the parts don't try to slide away from you and stuff when you're installing it. So I just laid the bike on its left-hand side, but before that I clamped the vent line on the gas tank. On fuel injection bikes and carbureted bikes, you should do that. And then on a carbureted bike, you're also going to get a little bit of gas that leaks out of the float bowl, and plus you need to shut the petcock off on those models. Fuel injection bikes don't have petcocks. So it's very easy to install. 3 on each side if you want my setup. 3 on one side and then 3 of the low engagement springs on the other side if you want your own setup. Or you can come up with your own little combination. But the point of this is that these clutches are tunable, and if you're not happy with the way it performs, then take it out and tune it. Quite often I hear guys, when I'm talking to them about clutches, about possibly buying one, they're like, oh, I rode one of those things one time. It was horrible, it disengaged all the time, it slipped, it did this, it did that. That was because it was installed poorly. The setup was poor, the installation was poor, and because when these things are set up correctly, they're pure magic, and they're a no-brainer. I don't understand why you would not have one. They're excellent clutches. It's an excellent product. If you've ridden one and didn't like it, then it was a setup issue, not a product issue. There's nothing wrong with these clutches. They work excellent. So try our kit. It's only, I think it's $30. We've got them in stock for now. They might start flying off the shelf, hard to say. But it's a way to tune your bike for better performance. And this also, not only does it stop the disengagement going down hills, but it makes them engage quicker, so more responsive when you hit the throttle. And that's why I like that pulse in mine. Because when I touch the throttle, I want it to go. I don't want there to be a lag period there. So give it a try. That's all for now.